Hello, this is John Rankin, johnrankin.us. Yes to honest politics. Here looking at the matter of what is equal justice for women and their unborn. The first issue to be considered is that of biology. Most simply, when a haploid sperm fertilizes a haploid egg, they become a diploid cell, which is biologically discrete and unique human life, becoming a one-celled zygote. We all once were one-celled zygotes, whether we were conceived naturally or with some artificial assistance. We were all once a one-celled zygote. Therefore, the act of human abortion is the word that means to cut off from rising, cuts off from rising a discrete human life that has been conceived. The second matter is a sociological dimension, namely the overwhelming number of abortions that are chosen, quote unquote, is due to male chauvinism and/or irresponsibility. Namely, a man gets a woman pregnant and refuses to be accountable to her as a husband or in some other responsible capacity, and there's nothing as good as being a lawfully married husband, or by some form of irresponsibility, whether passive or active in nature. The point being, the whole issue starts with the man. And if we would honor chastity outside of marriage and fidelity within marriage, the marriage of one man, one woman, one lifetime, the abortion issue would virtually disappear, other than the hard cases of a threat to a mother's life or same such. So, the worst extent of male chauvinism is the issue of rape or incest, the toughest question in this debate. I've addressed this often. One time, in 1989, I was invited to debate Marianne Sorrentino at Brown University. She was the former president of Planned Parenthood in Providence, Rhode Island, and had recently been excommunicated by her Roman Catholic bishop. And this brought a lot of attention. We had a packed audience at the Sales Auditorium. During the question and answer period, a young woman, 7 rows in on my right, as I recollect, raised her hand and looked at me and said, "What about rape and incest?" And the whole audience became stone quiet. Now, in Sales Auditorium, built 108 years earlier, all the seats were bolted to the floors, and the flip-top tabletops were also bolted to the seats. So when people would shift their body weight, you could hear the creaking and groaning of these ancient bolts, a little background noise, as it were. But the moment that this woman asked a question, all of that stopped. An intense, visceral, and deeply important question in the face of rape and incest, a most discrete evil. I looked at her and I said, "This is an excellent question, and I have one question for you." It turned into 3 questions, but this was a spontaneous moment. I said, "Are you like me? Do you seek the qualities of peace, order, stability, and hope?" And she affirmed yes, and so did the whole audience. I continued, "And also like me, do you seek to live, to love, to laugh, and to learn?" The affirmation was the same, and with the whole audience. So I continued. Then there's far more that unites us than divides us. In the face of the hell of rape and incest, does abortion unrape the woman and restore to her the lost qualities of peace, order, stability, and hope, etc.? Or do they only multiply the fracture? Do they only deepen the brokenness? I did not have to answer any further than that. Everyone knew the reality of what I was addressing. Do we answer evil with evil, or do we answer evil with good? And if so, how does the good come into a situation like this? And we talked further, and that's a larger topic. But the point being that if we want to address the hell of abortion and male irresponsibility, we need to identify it, and then we need to empower the woman to choose life, and we need to do it in a way that is loving, merciful, and compassionate. So in the face of this debate, how do we go about this legislatively and legally? And I have 3 proposals. 2 multiple-choice, non-binding referenda suitable for state legislatures. Also, they can be debated in other contexts. And then finally, an amendment to the United States Constitution. So let's take a look at each of the 3. The first referendum is on human abortion and a process of informed choice. We recognize that the U.S. Constitution defines 3 principal arenas of unalienable human rights, and with a specific order: life, liberty, and property. The 1973 U.S. Supreme Court Roe v. Wade decision left the beginning of individual biological human life undefined. We believe this matter should be addressed. If there's no consensus on the biological beginning of individual human life, let it be shown, and the status quo of Roe v. Wade will hold and be strengthened. If, however, a clear consensus emerges, let it be instructive. And here's the question. In biological terms, when does an individual human life begin? Mark a cross X next to the answer you prefer. Only mark 1. 1. Conception. 2. Viability. 3. Birth. 4. Write-in. Specify a different biological term. Here's the power of this question. An honest definition of terms leads to the power of informed choice relative to human life, whereas Roe v. Wade is the opposite, based on a pretension of ignorance. Political leaders and others who choose not to answer it, or say they don't know, are in de facto agreement with the 1973 U.S. Supreme Court Roe v. Wade decision that legalized human abortion. They become pro-abortion. In Roe, the justices employed a "we don't know" argument as to when life begins. This is a statement of chosen ignorance, just like Cain using the "I don't know" argument as to the whereabouts of his brother Abel, whom he had just murdered. And this is just like some enemies of Jesus using the "we don't know" argument to avoid answering him on the source of John the Baptist's authority, as they sought pretext to have Jesus crucified. This "we don't know" rationale, again the very essence of Roe, is the intellectually and morally weakest form of argument in history, and can easily be overcome through the power of informed choice. At a prior theological reality in Genesis 2, we are given the true definition of terms of A, good and evil, B, freedom and slavery, and C, life and death. We are thus given a level playing field to choose between these parallel opposites. A true definition of terms yields the power of informed choice. One political reality of biblical theology is this: informed choice serves the humanity of women and their unborn equally. Misinformed choice, or worse, stated ignorance, serves human abortion, which also rips women's lives apart. Here is the second proposed referendum: human abortion and male irresponsibility. We recognize that the 1973 U.S. Supreme Court Roe v. Wade decision does not address the role of fathers or male responsibility. As well, we recognize that in the overwhelming number of abortion decisions, the man has left the relationship and refuses accountability. To what extent is human abortion driven by male irresponsibility is therefore the question. Mark a cross X next to the answer you prefer. Only mark 1. 1, very much. 2, somewhat. 3, very little. Here's the power of this question. Of those who give answer, the majority will likely answer 1. Some women will not answer because the pain of broken relationships with men is too deep, and or they support other women who've yielded to male chauvinism in the name of feminism. Not to give answer is the de facto affirmation of Roe in their conflicted pains. Many men with guilty consciences, including legislators, will likely choose not to vote on the matter, thus voting for the logic and ethics of Roe. Thus, these two questions address the biological and sociological realities of human abortion. As legislators and citizens consider these questions, we will gain the driver's seat, initially framing the new language of the abortion debate, and therefore a proposed amendment to the United States Constitution. This prepares the way to win the necessary 38 state legislatures to pass an amendment to the U.S. Constitution entitled Equal Justice for Women and Their Unborn. The exact language could be this: The unalienable rights of life, liberty, and property belong to all people equally under the rule of law, including equal justice for the shared humanity of women and their unborn children. The first order of human government is to protect human life for his or her entire natural duration, out of which liberty and property rights become possible. And let the debate on entire natural duration ensue. Law cannot be changed until the hearts and minds of men and women are changed, and this strategy will energize such a process. When abortion is made illegal, the law needs to simply hold all men accountable for the children they procreate according to the variables at play. It is such irresponsible or outright chauvinistic men who overwhelmingly force the abortion choice on women. If such a man refuses to provide for the woman and their child, and an abortion results, he is liable to the charge of manslaughter. Thank you so much. This is John Rankin, johnrankin.us, and God bless.